I wanted to give y'all a chance to hear the very first opportunity to hear our youth poet, Oumou Dukuray is here, and she's going to start offering a poem called Food for Thought. So what we're going to do is she's going to share it as people are entering, but we wanted to give you a taste and just get you started since you're here early and ready to persist and resist with us. So I'm going to be up and down introducing folks throughout the day. It's not a formal NMC, but I just wanted to see your faces, and I wanted to say to everybody how happy and excited I am to have you here, and to thank everybody for coming on this Sunday to be with family. And I want y'all to feel like this is less of a conference and more of a family get-together. I'm gonna stop talking because I'm gonna cry. So without further ado, I would love to bring to the stage Oumou Dukuray.
Good morning, everybody. Food for thought. Unconsciously, we the target swimming in high rates of obesity. Sugar, calories, and artificials attacking with no shield, but we're still munching and sipping. Death rates bringing curiosity. Curiosity killed the cat, but being blinded gives no heal. The altercation of commodification leaving us impoverishedly malnourished. We are being fed with fingers whose tomorrows is guaranteed. Imprisoned by zip codes, diabetes where all fingers bleed. This is where society becomes a culprit to bad deeds. They say Black Lives Matter when a kid from the block gets gunned down, but we have yet to realize that we are the market of food or else the business drowns. Feeding the organic with GMO preservatives and all types of additives, breaking the culture of agriculture. McDonald's become a criminal they're evil doing. Clown figures were nightmares and now is a satisfaction. Are you guys really seeing this distraction? We're sipping our ways to death and losing. We must stop being depicted of graffiti and become victims of the needy. Living within spaces of hypocrisy and hypnotized to believe we live in a democracy. Democracy with a caste system. Locke's philosophy of the pursuit to live is overturned, and we wake up to a 9 to 5 where burgers turn. It's time to become activists of our practices and laminate injustice. It's not just you who sees her poking those needles in her finger, wondering if it's diabetes she'll die from when you see a never-ending river of blood. Will it be a poor blood circulation? I don't know. Is it Ma, Auntie Rosie, Uncle Ben, or Grandma Rose? Or is it Papa who promises he'll come home but lays in the hospital with a gunshot wound and diabetes in his medical history? Grandma will call you and sugarcoat your name for you to bring her a Coke. Can't resist, but look in her wary, temporary eyes, feel the guilt, and do it all over again. Knowing Grandma can never make those sweet chocolate chip cookies because of the hole in her foot. A wound that won't repair happiness. A wound that won't be cured with a Rite Aid Band-Aid. A wound that won't be cured with a Rite Aid Band-Aid. Lying in a bed in which you can't stand that hallucinating question of, am I really alive today? We can't be stripped of our lives, but we shall preserve our culture. But we can fight with our moral strength to create a rigid sculpture that salutes for the tradition of the power of food. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. My name is Oumou Dukuray, and I collaborate with the CUNY Food Policy Institute with Sharita. She should be in the audience, yes. And before I continue, I want to state that last year for the 2017 Just Food Conference, I was here. I was actually late, but I was absorbing, everything I can at the back. I communicate, and now I just communicated a poem using the power of words, quite of a transition. I want to share a quote from Eli Wiesel, and the quote starts, "We must take sides. Neutrality helps the oppressor, never the victim. Silence encourages the tormentor, never the tormented. Sometimes we must interfere when human lives are endangered, when human dignity is in jeopardy. National borders and sensitivities become irrelevant. Wherever men and women are persecuted because of their race, religion, or political views, that place must at that moment become the center of the universe. Basically, silence will not aid the generations coming to prosper. It would not shed a light to provide our dark communities with the health care to properly live. Emphasis on properly live. Or might sound better like this. It wasn't the creation of Crest and Colgate, it's the wonders of pain screaming past in a toll gate. So I just fly away with my bliss, not looking at risks and relocate. Because we just might fly as high as the death rates. Look back in days to those days when you used to be raised. It's like a maze, looking for the solutions through the daily scrimmages. It's not something easy to live, right? When there's all these weaknesses. I call it survival of the fittest. Reminiscing those days at the door shop, those used to be the littest. Figuring out the door to cop. A black Barbie with nappy hair or a straight hair white Barbie. With little innocence, it's better to be wise than sorry. Silence only shows how comfortable we are, drowning in the injustice we are facing, and it will only beautify the art of the sun. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Oumou. I really appreciate it. It was beautiful. So I am going to call up Alex Jimerson. He's going to offer us the Thanksgiving address.
Winichio and good morning. I want to thank Oumou for sharing her powerful words with us. Such words that resonate with all of us and which brought us all together is medicine of food, and food is medicine is something that I've been hearing a lot lately. I just want to thank Allison and Just Food for asking me to present this morning on the Thanksgiving address. So I've been asked to open the conference with some words of acknowledgement to the natural world, which we were very much a part of. I know, although amongst all the steel and concrete, it doesn't feel that way so much, but we're still very much connected through the delicious and plentiful food that we eat every day. Food being the driving force, what gathered a lot of us here today. So in speaking of the land that we're on, I want to pay send acknowledgement to the Lenape people, who are the original inhabitants and rightful caretakers of this land. In my language, the Seneca language, our word for what is now New York City, or currently New York City, is Kanokto, which is town in the water. So it's, you kind of have that, the Hudson River and the East River and all the water surrounding it. And a lot of the Mohawks from what is now upstate New York came down to trade with the Lenape people. So my people were always kind of a place of commerce, and it's kind of, Manhattan kind of has that energy of that. We were quick energy, and I think, the land speaks to that. The elements speak to that. So I will start with the Ganonial, which translates to it gives thanks, or a Thanksgiving address, or it continually gives thanks. And it's just like an acknowledgement. It's not a prayer. It's not any type of religious ceremony at all. But I'm going to need your participation at the end. We say Nyo, so if everyone can say Nyo. Right on. That's just, it means okay or all right. And it's just kind of like we're all in agreement that we're all giving thanks this morning. So I'll start now. In my culture, the Mohawks would say it's the words that come before all else. So anytime that we gather, much like we are today, as Kiana said, it's like a family gathering, right? It's not like a conference. I mean, it is a conference, but we're structuring it like a family gathering. So these are the words that come before else. So we're all in agreement that we value these natural elements, the natural world, all of the gifts that creation has provided for us. And by you participating in that, as just saying like we're all in agreement, all of our minds are one, and we continue to create this message to share with everybody. So just to give kind of that was like a loose translation, but if I can get a little bit of the kind of the transliterals down of everything that I said was, first we give thanks to the people. Today we have gathered and we say that the cycles of life continue. We have been given the duty to live in balance and harmony with each other and all living things. So now we bring our minds together as one, as we give greetings and thanks to each other as people. Now our minds are one. Next, we give thanks to our Mother, the Earth. She gives us all that we need for life. She supports our feet as we walk upon her. It gives us joy that she continues to care for us as she has from the beginning of time. To our Mother, we send greetings and thanks. Now our minds are one. The waters. We give thanks to all the waters of the world for quenching our thirst and providing us with strength. Water is life. We know its power in many forms, waterfalls and rain, mists and streams, rivers and oceans. With one mind, we send greetings and thanks to the Spirit of water. The fish, we turn our minds to fish life and the water. They were instructed to cleanse and purify the water. They also give thanks to us as food. We are grateful that we can still find pure water, so we turn now to the fish and we give our greetings and thanks. And next we give thanks to the plants. As far as we can see, the plants grow, working many wonders. They sustain many life forms. With our minds gathered together, we give thanks and look forward to seeing plant life for many generations to come. Now our minds are one. The food plants, Joheko. Joheko means our life sustainers. It doesn't mean food. It doesn't mean three sisters like the corn, beans, and squash that my people subsisted on. It just means they sustain us. They give us life. So it's a really beautiful thing about the language. It doesn't necessarily mean food. It fits in for whatever you mean. So like, because food was such an integral part of our community and our culture, that's what we give thanks for. And next we turn to the medicine herbs of the world. They're instructed to take our sickness away. They're always waiting and ready to heal us. We are happy that they are strong, still among us, and special few who remember how to use the plants for healing. With one mind we send greetings and thanks to the medicines and to the keepers of the medicines. Next is the animals. We give thanks and greetings to the animals of the world, for they teach us many things, and they also give their lives to sustain us. And we are glad that they continue to come back to us. The trees providing us with shade and water, they're very much part of the natural cycle, and they're looked upon as a symbol of peace and strength in many cultures around the world. And with one mind, we give thanks and greetings to them. The birds and so forth, the four winds, the thunders, the sun, our grandmother, the moon, who the women and the moon work together, and that's how our babies come. And it's really intricate things that come in the culture that I'm still learning a lot more about. But I've always taught that the Ganonyok starts with the people that gathered here today. So you give thanks for all the people who've gathered here, and we're all gathering here today, and we're all, shared by this one common thing of food, our love for food, and how we want justice for food. And those who don't have it, or those who can't readily access it. So this is just some of the things that I've put together for this morning, and I wanted to kind of bring it back with the theme of resist and persist. These oppressive systems that we're in, the privatization of natural elements, restrictions on food. You're no longer growing food for food; you're growing it for fuel. So the reason why we resist those things is because we persist for these things to continue, for all the gifts that creation has provided for us. And I think that's one of the things I want everyone to take away with, is like how activism is today, is like, this is why we stand up to the system. This is why we do this, so we can ensure these things for generations to come, that we have the same bountiful gifts that they still have. So I want to thank you for listening to me, and that's all I have. Nyawe.
Alex, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Yes, we wanted to, open this space and acknowledge where we are on the land, and how we should really move forward with intentionality. Another part of that we wanted to build on from the Thanksgiving address is offering community agreements. I think most of us that do social justice work, we do a lot of workshops, and we kind of set community agreements when we start sessions and try to have trainings. So we thought that we would try to offer community agreements for the conference in order to kind of help us set and continue to ground us for moving forward today together as we persist and resist together. I should mention too, we came up with these community agreements together in solidarity with our planning committee as well as staff. So again, this is nothing that comes from one person. It's really something that we started from the beginning. Before I offer those community agreements, I do want to offer a special shout out. I don't know if some of them are here, because some of them are still volunteering in the other space, but to the planning committee. We had a diverse group of folks that were able to spend extra time with us to help plan and build the sessions, help decide on the workshops, and help us really inform the conference to frame the intentionality as well as these community agreements. So I really want to honor gratitude to the planning committee. So starting, I will name them a little bit later when I thank them again. In the community agreements, we started with respect and be open to each other and each other's opinion, even and especially if you don't agree with them. Honor this land. Take care of your needs. One mic, one voice at a time. This will be really helpful when you're in sessions together. Step up, step back. Be aware of the space that you are taking up when you're in sessions and speaking with each other. Make sure everyone feels heard, not just the outspoken few. Maintain confidentiality. Be present. Please silence your devices as well. Be respectful of time. Speak from the I. And pass on the gift. Continue these conversations after today. So what we're really hoping is this is, again, like an opportunity to share and learn and bring what you're taking from here into your work and into your lives. So again, you'll be able to see those, but I hope everyone can hold to them, continue to think about other ways that we can work together and persist and resist. So now that I shared the community agreements, I'm going to lift up and share thanks with our partner that's offering us the opportunity to be in this space, the Tisch Food Policy Center, and I'm going to call Pam Koch to the stage.
So good morning, everyone. Oh, that's great. So how many of you want a more just, equitable, and sustainable food system? How many of you want more people to be passionate about food and connected to real food? How many of you plan to be involved in growing something this year, whether in a farm, a garden, or a potted plant in your apartment? How many of you plan to cook something in the next week? Woo! Now that's what we're all working for tomorrow. We're in front of any audience anywhere. We would get that same exact enthusiasm and passion for a just food system. We are spreading that passion. That's what we're here doing today. And I am especially excited about the strength of the youth track that we have here today. And as we saw yesterday with the March for Our Lives, young people of all races everywhere are leading this movement. And it's happening in blue states and red states. And the powerful message that we can all spread is that if we get all these young people to vote, we will change to make our place safer and for a more just food system. So Just Food and Teachers College have a really long, intimate history. Joan Gusso, who's a professor emeritus here, was one of the founding directors of Just Food, and I was part of some of the initial meetings and planning Just Food in Kathy Lawrence's living room. We also hosted the CSA mini conference for 10 years, and since 2014 have been a partner hosting this Just Food conference. I want to thank Kiana and Sochi and everyone from the Just Food staff and all of the volunteers that made this possible, as well as thanking Claire and Rainika from the Lori M. Tisch Center for Food Education and Policy, and everyone at Teachers College who worked so hard to make this conference possible, and we hope seamless throughout the day. So I have 3 short messages that I want to share. The first, and I'm going to start with resist. We have a food supply that if we eat the ultra-processed foods that are everywhere around us, heavily advertised and inexpensive, due to our Farm Bill policies, we will get sick, both physically and psychologically. And the reality is that in communities of color, this food supply is much worse. It is a swamp of foods that are getting our people sick. Big ag and big food players that want this system to stay the way it is have a lot of influence. And that's why we need to persist. Now, I believe while we keep in mind what we are up against, it is our collective persistence that is making a difference. This is from communities like you, all of you, who are making changes every day. You're working with preschoolers to put a seed in the ground and let them watch what grows. You're working with high school students to help them realize the injustices in our food supply and help them advocate to make changes in their communities. You're working with adults to get real jobs with living wages in the good food movement. You're elevating seniors as elders who can guide our community gardens. These everyday actions are building a movement, and Big Ag and Big Food are noticing, and they're scared, and we want to keep it going. That brings me to my third message, hope. Even when we get down, and the news these days can get pretty bad each and every day, we have to remain hopeful, because hope is the passion that will drive change. Thank you.
Okay, every time I come up, I feel a little less, nope, I still feel nervous, sorry. I thought I was, but not really. Okay, so I want to now thank Pam for offering those words and again, letting us use the space for the conference and being a partner. I have the great honor of now offering opening up the stage to the Honorable Manhattan Borough President, Gale Brewer. She is a long-standing supporter of urban agriculture, food access, and just New Yorkers. And I'm just really happy to have her here. She made it possible in her schedule. So without further ado, I would love to bring Manhattan Borough President Gale Brewer up to the stage.
Thank you very much. It is an honor to be here, and I want to thank Just Food for inviting me. And when you say persist and resist, I guess I think patience, oh my God, so much to get this done in the city of New York. You have to take a little bit of a long-term view. So there are so many issues that we're trying to, and I guess what I'll do is I'll talk about some of the ones we're trying to work on and how friggin' hard it is to accomplish them. One of them is just supermarkets in New York City, particularly in the borough of Manhattan, where the rents go up and up and up. So in the area from Chambers up to 96th Street, all across Manhattan, there's something called the commercial rent tax. And that tax is levied on businesses that have, at this point, a revenue of $500,000 or less. It used to be 200. So in other words, if you have revenue that's 500 or less, then you don't have to pay the tax as of last year. But supermarkets obviously pay more than that. So they're stuck with this tax and their small margin. To the credit of the city council, last year, they made it easier for some businesses, but not for supermarkets. So we've been trying to get rid of that tax completely for supermarkets. We've not been successful yet, but we're going to keep working on it. Again, patience, patience, patience. It's very frustrating because they only have a 1 or 2% margin. There are 132 of them just in that area. Sounds like a lot, but there are a lot of people, visitors, and folks that need that food. So that's number one. Then we're looking at just the issue in schools. So I spend, as a borough president, we work a lot on zoning, we appoint, we allocate funding, and we can pass legislation. But we're all trying to get roof gardens and hydroponic labs into the schools. Sounds like no problem, you just allocate the funding and it all works out. Not true. Even if you allocate the funding, you have to work because sometimes there's a new school in the building and then they want to move the hydroponic lab. But where there are hydroponic labs, and some of you are working in those schools, between the science curriculum, the excitement of the young people. I just went to PS 28 on 155th Street, and the excitement there of the small $100,000 which we allocated made a big difference. However, in 2018, we have to do the budget for 2019, and the roof gardens are expensive. Every single school that can have a roof garden would like one. Again, the excitement of that opportunity is huge, and you know better than I the benefits in terms of science and food in general. So all I'm saying is, patience, 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 because the roof garden's going to be $2 million, and it takes time for the government agencies to allocate, and the Department of Education will not do it. So it has to be through the elected officials and what we call Reso A. Without getting into all the specifics, I think I've done about $2 million in hydroponics, and I'd like to do more, and we'd like to do more for working with New York Sunworks and the other organizations. I just mentioned that because it's hard. Community gardens, another challenge. There's always that fight in the government, again, patience between the need for affordable housing and then the need for a community garden. And we spend a lot of time on that issue. I can tell you that I must admit I often come down on the side of the community garden because there's so few of them, but on the other hand, we need affordable housing. So when you're on a community board or you're trying to figure out the position that you should take, this comes up. We are in a funny situation now. There's a garden in Harlem that is owned by the parks and then is owned by a private developer, then it's owned by parks and it's owned by a private developer. So trying to buy that portion that's owned by the private developer who woke up recently and said, oh my goodness, I guess I could get a lot of money, or else I'm gonna put a fence between you and your garden. So again, these are like persistence, patience, and let's see if we can figure out how to deal with this developer who never paid his property taxes, but all of a sudden he has because he'd like to be able to make some money off of all the hard work that people did to keep that community garden going. We are always trying to make sure that the allocation for groups that are working. So we have put in money for groups that are working on healthy eating, just in general. Example with the seniors. I think I've talked before, but excitement around seniors being able to buy from Grow NYC the $8 bags of fresh fruits and vegetables. You can't imagine the excitement from the bottom of Manhattan to the top of Manhattan, working with the senior organizations and the farmers and Grow NYC to make that happen. And it's something that they feel very proud of. They come and help to make sure the bags and the vegetables and the fruits go together when the farmers deliver them. And the same thing at 1 Center Street. You would think that, city government employees would go to their local green market or go to their local fresh location of fruits and vegetables. Does not happen. City workers, there are 300,000 of the city workers, and they don't make a lot of money in many cases. And there are many times commuting to the City Hall area from all 5 boroughs, as you know. And so the fact that we have a CSA right there at 1 Center Street for the police department, the people who live and work at 1 Center Street, it's a huge deal. It goes all year long, and it is sponsored by the Manhattan Borough President's Office and the Department of Citywide Administrative Services. And the bags are stuffed by a group of Chinese women who come as part of a program every single week, maybe 10 or 15 of them, and make sure those bags have fresh fruits and vegetables. They're very proud of that work. And we have fed, in a sense, thousands of people who make sometimes, $20,000, $21,000 a year. We're always concerned about school food. It's great that I always call it the Kathy Goldman, Agnes Molnar program. But the fact of the matter is the universal school lunch makes a big difference. But, the issue is, whole apples go uneaten. You have to be, whole chicken, if you can't cut it with a plastic knife, goes into the trash. And we can always talk about where does that trash go? The whole issue of organics in the schools, without getting into a whole long discussion. We've been trying for, 5 or 6 years, maybe longer, to make that program work. It's hard because if you compromise the organics going out of the school, then that truck may not be able to continue at the place that is going to be dumping its organics, because the end result is the company won't want to continue working with the Department of Education. That happened to us in the past. We're hoping that it doesn't happen in the future. And DOE and sanitation and others are working on that issue. But I can tell you, patience, 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 because there are a lot of schools. There are 1,800 schools in the city of New York, and each one of them has to make sure it works. We're also trying, where there are organics in a school being collected, to have some of the larger buildings along the route also participate in this program. Sounds great in theory, but even where I have friends who run block associations who are trying to get the superintendents to work on this, again, it's not an easy sell. And they have to be able to participate in the program with the residents. It's very interesting to me. The Department of Sanitation gave, in one particular building, every single apartment something to collect the organics in, free, F-R-E-E, from the city of New York. Well, guess what happened? It was really interesting. So when somebody moved, they put the organics collector, I'm not making this up, in the basement near the laundry room and left and never had any kind of a continual discussion. So all of these things take education. I was surprised that it didn't work as well as I thought. Summer meals, we found when I first came to the borough president's office 4 years ago that not enough young people, 18 and under, free meals during the summer. They were much higher quality than they have been in the past, as you know. So we thought, oh, no problem, people will go. Wrong. The Department of Education forgot to tell anybody where to go. So the issue is, where are you going to go? We finally just, after handing out leaflets, we just passed a bill that the Department of Education must tell parents before school's over that they have to know where to go. That'll make a big difference. So these are what I call, yes, persist, but yes, patience in order to get anything done in the city of New York. Congratulations, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Manhattan Borough President Brewer. I appreciate it. Thank you for coming. So I have the distinct honor of calling to the stage Kristina, Erskine, and I said it wrong. I'm sorry. Iyeshima Harris. Yes. Sorry. Names, phonics. Before I call them up to the stage, I really just want to quickly say how great it is to see the evidence of the youth-powered work in the food justice work in New York City. Okay. It is, as we were continuing to work on the conference and as I continued to see names as I was doing registration, I just was so excited to see the numbers grow in the youth and young adults in our conference. This is probably our strongest contingency. We have 7 to 8 intergenerational workshops that are going to be youth-led and or connected with adults. We were able to bring the youth justice track back stronger than ever this year, and that wouldn't have been possible without the generous support of the Levitt Foundation. So I also want to say thank you to them. Thank you, Barbara. So when you look around, know that you're working with people that are not just elders that we should be informed by and ancestral practices, but we should really also make space for young folks to really inform and hear from them how we should continue to work together. So through the youth justice track, I've been able for the last few months to work with Iyeshima and Kristina, who have developed the programming for the youth justice track. So I would like to call them up to offer a few words. Thank you.
Thank you, Kiana. Why am I tippy-toeing? Thank you, everyone. We are truly excited and happy to be here today, and we hope you are all as well. When we attended our first Just Food conference in 2013, we were 17-year-olds leading mural paintings. We didn't even attend any workshops or anything. And fast forward to now, we are co-producers of this year's youth track. Yeah, I never imagined a position like this one would exist, quite honestly, but we shouldn't put anything past our organizing. In fact, I believe Adrienne Marie Brown said it best when she said, "I believe all organizing is science fiction." The world we want does not exist. Truly, to collectively aspire to create worlds we have never experienced before is science fiction. As organizers and activists, we are committed to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, to boldly go where no man has gone before. I'm so glad you guys got that. I was worried about that. Okay. Yeah, where am I? Okay, we weave these precious narratives in our minds, these science fictional tales. And while we may never see them fully realized, we share anyway, we organize anyway, we persist and resist anyway. Iyeshima and I are lucky enough to be able to witness a bit of one of our wildest sci-fi fantasies come true with the youth track today, and we want to thank Just Food and the Levitt Foundation for that. There is a fierce braveness in acknowledging that your authority and knowledge as an adult might not be the measure of all things. But it is this bravery that we need to persist and resist as we dream those big, odd, and even uncomfortable dreams. This bravery is what we need to live long and prosper.
Kristina and I truly wanted to uplift the reality of our dreams today. We tell our young people to dream big and to reach for the stars. Well, we wrangle a couple of stars for today's conference. Today, we bring you job and networking opportunities created with the career panel that will be taking place during the youth lunch. Learning and leadership opportunities created with the youth ambassador role. So you'll see like youth ambassadors walking around with gray shirts. Feel free to congratulate them and thank them and encourage them and ask them any questions. We also created 13 diverse workshops for the youth track and the most youth engagement at Just Food Conference so far with over 150 youth in attendance. Last year, Just Food presented me with the opportunity to organize the first ever youth track, and I was able to work with 6 amazing different organizations within New York City. I was very excited to take on the challenge, and it was very challenging. And I was also like, whew. Working with such a diverse cohort of youth leaders helped Kristina and I to create the platform that is seen today. For us, we want to make sure that we break the barriers that prevent youth from creating a platform where their voice matters and can be heard. We were very persistent in our mission in ensuring youth empowerment, and fought through all the obstacles that tried hindering us from our goals. After our 7+ years of working with youth around food justice, we are here. We hope that this inspires you to be confident in your ability to create your own stars. We want to thank Just Food and Levitt Foundation again for their support. Without them believing in us and what we care about, we would not be here today with such an amazing news. Thank you all for attending, and we hope you enjoyed today's Just Food conference.
Aren't they amazing? So good, so good. So I have a tendency to start workshops, sessions, and panels without really introducing myself. So I'm going to repeat who I am because I probably didn't say it earlier. I'm Kiana Mickey. I'm the Executive Director of Just Food. Oh, okay. Sure. Thank you. Thank you. I've been the executive director for 10 months. One of the reasons why you're not going to hear a long speech from me today is because last year at the Just Food Conference, I gave a food talk. So I wanted to really step back and share the platform with other folks. And as we continue to move forward, I think it's always really interesting and important to kind of reflect and kind of take a look back. So in terms of thinking about persistence, I would think about Just Food being around for over 20 years in the New York City food and urban food justice and urban agricultural landscape. So it's my distinct honor to be able to come from being a program person in the community as a community advocate, then a CSA program manager, a brief stint as the policy and advocacy director, and then the executive director. So with the reason why I'm mentioning that is I want to bring to the stage somebody that we're calling back from our past who really helped form Just Food and really kind of get us to the platform that we're here today. That person is Kathleen McTeague, former Cities Farm manager at Just Food. I still see her name around the office. That's how much her presence is. She is now working at New Roots Community Farm in International Rescue Committee. I have the distinct honor of bringing her up to the stage to connect us from our past of Just Food to our future. She is going to introduce the Hightower Bayer family to offer the annual award that we give in honor of their father.
Good morning. Thank you, Kiana. As Kiana said, I work at the International Rescue Committee, but today I'm here. I'm really pleased to be here to honor the legacy of McKinley Hightower Bayer. I know from my teaching and presentation that I should never tell anybody to look at their booklets, because all they'll do is look at their booklets and not listen to me. But I do want us all actually to open to page 6, because that's McKinley's picture, and I want us to be able to bring him into the room with us. So take a moment to look at page 6. Thank you. So what I don't want to do is repeat things that people know, but actually this morning when I got here, I realized how many people I don't know here at the conference, which is really exciting. As Kiana mentioned, I worked at Just Food from 2002 to 2007. And McKinley was one of the community gardeners that definitely made me feel like I was in the right place, that the work that we were doing was important, was essential, and was needed, and that we were on the right path. And so I always appreciate McKinley for giving me that space to move forward with the movement. And I really wanted to say today that McKinley, in addition to being a community gardener in Far Rockaway and in Jamaica, as well as being an emergency food provider, giving constantly of himself to help his neighborhood and feed people, McKinley was also part of our, here at Just Food, the very first cohort of training of trainers. So I don't know if any of you have been through the training of trainers here at Just Food or with other partner organizations, but the training of trainers is about skills and tools to facilitate trainings. But what it's also about is really being able to recognize the potential that each person has, that each of us has the potential to be a teacher and a learner in any of our engagements. And so when I think about McKinley, I not only think about what he was able to share, but the fact that he was really able to recognize the potential in all of us. So whether that's youth that participated in his gardens or other community gardeners around the city, or even his own children, really seeing the potential that we all have, and that goes to building our movement. So I know people have already mentioned the youth track here today. Obviously, the youth led this nation yesterday. And I think McKinley always knew that there was power in working together, elevating the voices of youth, and being able to see potential in each other. So I just want to honor McKinley today, and I want to introduce his family. I have a very great pleasure of being able to be here again with the Bayer family. So Farid, Wajida, and Wajida would love if you guys could come join me on the stage today.
Good morning, everyone. Okay. Good morning, Just Food staff, supporters, and both youth and adult leaders that are here today. This annual award, it's not about myself. It's not about even the organization. It's more about New York City. It's more about America and the world, and just being part of the food justice environment, and also more for my father's ideals of making sure that everyone is able to get safe, healthy, and just food access in all the communities. Okay, and the award today, it's going to someone named Mr. Carel Anthony. And I'm just going to give a little bit of an introduction to him before going to the stage. So Carel Anthony, he's a student. He's a community activist. He's also part of the Librarians of Tomorrow program and a few other things that I'll let him speak about. And I just want to say a few of the reasons why we chose him for the award this year. So the main 3 points is for dedication, achievements, and also what I would like to call the, also what I like to call the leaders of tomorrow. So part of the dedication, as may or may not be in the booklet, is that Mr. Anthony, he normally travels a long distance from the Bronx just to go to Rockaway Park to go to school. And most people, if they would travel that long, especially in public transportation, first instinct might be, let me just go straight home and get out of here. But at this point, he was able to take the time to not only participate in other extracurricular activities, but also to make sure to be a part of his adopted community in the Rockaway Peninsula from an organization known as the Rockaway Waterfront Alliance. And the Rockaway Waterfront Alliance, it was formed a few years ago, and part of it is just to make sure that there's different environmental impacts that are taken care of in the peninsula. Also, what they've been working on as well is the CSA, the Community Supported Agriculture movement. And Mr. Anthony is also playing a part in that as well. And some of the other achievements that I'll point out is that he made sure to be a mentor to some of the younger youth justice participants. So when you're thinking of someone who's a mentor, you may think of someone that's a little older. You may think of someone who've been doing a lot or even at retirement age. But even now at I believe the age of 17. Okay, so he's now 17, and he's even a mentor to even some of the younger ones. They may even be a little older, but just not have too much of the wisdom and experience that he has over the years. And the next thing I just want to say is about the future of food justice. So there was another event or another activity that he participated in, and a large part of what needs to happen is to be the documentation of what's going on. So when you talk about a few years ago, like 10, 20 years ago, before everyone had camera phones as they do now, there's only so many things that are recorded in what is now the large history of food justice. So I'll let him talk about it a little later on, but he played a part as far as different music events, as far as different film activities for himself. So finally, what I'd like to do is give Mr. Anthony a chance to go to the stage and accept this award today. Nobody wants to take a picture?
Okay, all right.
This one? All right. Come on, so be this here.
Hello. Hello. I'm Carel Anthony. As you heard, I'm 17, a senior in high school. I go to Scholars Academy out in Rockaway Park, Queens. And like you said, I do all these extracurriculars. My school's the theater department. I do chorus, but I'm just a normal guy doing normal things. That's how I take it day by day. You know, the traveling. It's really my decompression time, my time to do nothing and just think and reflect and grow, honestly. You know, that was a great introduction. I'm a little nervous. I didn't know I was gonna be doing this much talking, but you know, thank you, really.
Do we have the photo out?
I don't know where we're looking.
Yeah, I'm just looking
I'm not sure where we're looking.
Okay.
Okay. You got it? He's coming to the front.
Okay, here we go.
Okay.
Okay, we have one with a camera too.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Kiana.
That was great.
All right, now I have to give it up.
Thanks so much. Oh, wow. Thank you. That was awesome. So real quick, last year, we did a how to start a CSA training at the Rockaway Waterfront Alliance, and that's when I actually had a chance to first meet Carel, and I was so amazed by his passion and his commitment and his interest in bringing CSA to his community, increasing food access in his community where he felt there was little, and his community still being Rockaway, even though he lived in the Bronx and would still travel, and he would come for our trainings on the weekends. So when I heard that he was nominated for this award, I was just so excited, and I'm really happy that he got it. But again, I'm just really happy to see a lot of the youth here that are such leaders and taking charge in our work and in our space.